Ladies and gentlemen, the CDC just released this chart to help the public know how to tell the difference between you having CV, the flu, cold, or allergies. Now, I suffer from allergies, and some of you might remember back in 2018, I developed bronchitis. Well, that bronchitis actually stemmed from allergies that I had that summer. The pollen was really bad that year. And because of that, a lot of the pollen I was inhaling flared up my allergies and sinus infections. Well, that morphed into bronchitis. That's where it came from. I have since done a lot better with it. I didn't really suffer from it at all in 2019. And what I did was I added ginger tea, just drinking it on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day. And that is what got me through it. And it actually eased a lot of the allergy symptoms that I would have normally had. So, just giving you some idea of how I got through it without another flare up. And I'm hoping that the ginger tea will get me through this year as well. So let's look at this chart that came out from the CDC. CV, flu, cold, or allergies. Do you have a fever? So let's select yes. Are you experiencing shortness of breath? Yes. You may have CV. Here's some of the other symptoms: cough, fatigue, weakness, and exhaustion. Now, I did a video on a doctor, an Asian doctor, that had it in my state. And I looked at a couple of the videos that he did. One of the things that he spoke about that really stood out, he said he was so exhausted, he couldn't even walk around. He felt like he was getting worse every day. And every time he was trying to talk, it was accompanied with him coughing while talking. And he did talk about his weakness. So if you feel any of those symptoms on this chart, that's when you need to possibly get yourself checked for CV. Now, if you say, no, I don't have shortness of breath, you may have the flu. So it's common to have a cough, fatigue, weakness, exhaustion. Now, you see the difference between CV and the flu. You have the shortness of breath. Okay, usually during the flu, you may feel a fever, but in a lot of cases, you don't have shortness of breath. You may be struggling to breathe because of all the congestion, but it's very different in terms of you being short of breath. So now let's go to the no category. Do you have a fever? Do you have itchy eyes? Now, with itchy eyes, that is associated with allergies because I have them. I can tell you. Other symptoms: sneezing, running nose. Okay, so if you have sneezing or a runny nose, itchy eyes, chances are those are allergy symptoms. So if you say, no, I don't have a fever, I don't have itchy eyes, so you may have the common cold. And many of us have experienced a cold in our life. So other symptoms: sneezing, runny nose, mild chest discomfort. All right. So I think this is a good chart to show your children and even the elderly people in your family. This is really good information right here, in my opinion. So these are common symptoms which may vary from person to person. Only a doctor can give you a diagnosis. So definitely keep this chart and make sure you have it handy. That way, if you notice these symptoms in people, especially in your own family, you can do something about it. All right. So, all right, well, give me 1 second here. Okay, y'all, I was trying to get the chart. There we go. I was trying to get it to change to the next page. All right, so CV symptoms. Patients with CV have experienced mild to severe respiratory illness. And I have another additional video that I'm going to put out later on today to show you what doctors have found after people, what they feel recovered from this. So symptoms include fever. And I did a video on the Prime Minister of Canada, and this is how his wife woke up after coming into contact with someone with it. She woke up with a fever and she was coughing. She was tested and then found to have CV. So, a fever, a cough, symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. Shortness of breath. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have CV, or if you live in or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of CV. And I agree with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I went out a few days ago and I did see a lot of people walking around in public with the mask on. Some did have on latex gloves, but I have to tell you, the majority of the people that I saw out there did not have gloves on. They might have had the mask on, but not the gloves. So, they are still pretty much open to getting it because they are touching a lot of the same items and surfaces that other people are touching. So, you just got to do what you have to do. I mean, nobody is doing this to perfection, but at least you're trying to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, CV is officially in all 50 states. There are no more excluded states. The other day when I did a video, it was in all but 9 states. That is not the case anymore. If you look at this chart, it's in every single state now. I knew it was going to take, it was going to be a short period of time, and indeed it was. Now, when I did a video and it was in all but 9 states, that was on Thursday. Today is Saturday. Look how fast it spread to those 9 states. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are still people on cruises. And I don't know why people are on cruise ships at this point. And I did notice that some of the companies that do cruises did suspend their services. So even if you booked a cruise, you won't be able to take it now at all. So this chart will show you how many cases in each of the 50 states and how many deaths. So, again, one thing I can honestly say about our people, we do wash our hands frequently. I do notice that. Even when I was in corporate America, when I used to go in that bathroom, I always saw us up at the sink washing our hands. And just keep up those good habits. Make sure your kids are doing it too, and the elderly people in your family. So, as you can see, everything is really progressing pretty fast. How CV cases have escalated in the US. So, you can see from January when we had one case all the way up through March 12th. I am a little unhappy with the way leadership has handled this thing in the country. Too much time was wasted calling it a hoax, lying about 15 people have it. Now, he said this in about a week ago. 15 people have it and it'll be zero by now. When he said that a week ago, ladies and gentlemen, we had well over 100 cases when Trump made that statement. So he was not even being honest when he said those things. And I think his lack of accepting what's going on has made this whole thing worse in the country. But that's my opinion. You could disagree with me. And he's back to saying he will not get tested. At this point, I feel they should force him into isolation. When everybody around you is coming up with this and you were exposed to these people at Mar-a-Lago and other people are getting sick. Now, I saw an article that two more people that was there with the president, vice president, and they are sick. And this Brazilian president, his daughter is in isolation. Lindsey Graham is in isolation. The mayor of Miami was there. He's in isolation. The highway patrol that escorted the Brazilian president, that whole squad of cops are in isolation. And at this point, Trump's denial means he is spreading this thing to everybody around him and not caring. You're not Superman. Nobody is looking at this man like he's bigger than life. At the end of the day, he's simply just one person. If you care about your country and you love your country like you claim, you would never, ever want to spread virus to the people in your country, whether they're on your staff or not. There is no way all of these people are coming up with it, and he didn't. It is not possible. It's not possible. He's not above anything. He's not above illness, and he's going to die like everybody else. Plain and simple. So they're advising if you feel any of the symptoms that you saw on the chart, it is advised that you self isolate. That way you don't spread this thing any further. So, those displaying symptoms such as fever and a cough are advised to self isolate, which I think is a good idea. I think this is my opinion. I know they have allowed people to self isolate, and some of those people broke it and still went to activities, still went back out in public. I believe, and this is just my opinion, when you start showing symptoms and it's clear that you have CV. Your isolation should be mandatory. Now, the urgent care center around me, and I'm sure this is everywhere in the country, it's not just here, but I can only tell you my observation from my state because this is where I am. They are welcoming people to come in if you have symptoms. And what they're saying is if they find that you do have it from their facility, they're going to send you to another facility to go into quarantine. So if you go in there and you are found to have CV, you won't be going home. You will be sent somewhere into quarantine to another facility, and you will have to be there up to 14 days. So, that was the message they had put out in my state. And I'm sure it's not the only one. I'm sure it's in other states. Wash your hands. Now, this is one thing I don't have to tell our people. I noticed this even when my mother was alive. She was constantly washing her hands. My father was too. And I do it naturally. Anytime I'm cooking and cleaning my house, I will wash my hands in between. If I'm gardening, I wash my hands. If I'm cleaning the house, I wash my hands. Even if I'm dealing with my cat and I'm playing with her, when I'm done, I wash my hands. It's just things you just do naturally. And this is one habit I have never seen our people avoid. Even when I was on my job, I would observe this, whether a person was, in the bathroom washing their hands, or we used to have a little kitchen area. I would even see people in there washing their hands. So the CDC advises to clean your hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. And really get your hands lathered up, ladies and gentlemen. Lather them hands up real good. And do it every time you wash. Have your children do it. Have the elders in your family do it as well. Get those hands nice and lathered up. you know. And the sad part is soap is selling out all over the country. So all I can say is if you are having a hard time buying soap, if you have some sort of body wash at your house, that will work as well. You know, sometimes people have just the hand wash on their sink, the liquid. Anything will work at this point. And look, if you don't have none of those things, use basic dish soap. That'll work just as good. So if you have all of these things at your disposal, you shouldn't have to worry about anything. You should be fine. Even if the soap is selling out in public. You know, I know I had said this to you before, but I always naturally had a lot of soap in my house. And I guess I just kind of repeat that in my life because my mother was like that. My mother always had a stockpile of soap in the house. And I just kind of carried that habit when I got grown. And when I buy soap, I always get the big packs. I got one and it had about 30 bars of soap, antibacterial soap. I got it from Amazon back in December. And you can also get into soap making. I make my own soap too. I haven't done it in a while, but I certainly can get back to it. I have everything I need to make my own soap, especially if you want a more organic soap, then it's best to do it yourself. And those things are not hard to do. You can either make it from scratch or get the base soap from Amazon. And out of the base soap, you can add any type of essential oils and other things to it that you like, honey. Now I have right now at my house, I have a base honey soap. I have goat milk and olive oil. And sometimes I'll get the glycerin base soap and I'll add to that. And you can also get the soap made of shea butter, coconut oil. There's a lot of base soaps. The nice thing about base soaps, once the soap hardens, you can use it right away. Where if you make it from scratch and you're adding lye and everything to it, you have to store that soap before, you're able to use it. That's the difference. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you have CV or not? Hopefully, this graphic that I showed you from the CDC will help in assisting you on whether or not you have certain symptoms. So don't hesitate if you are to try to do something about it, if you can. I realize there's a lot of our people out here with no medical insurance, and I do get it. I really do. I know they were also working on making adjustments to sick leave. If you have to leave your job for CV, you can still get paid. I think that's the right thing to do. That's the least you can do for your employees if you are a company. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.